This is a reading for intention setting with the astrological houses and a new moon in Libra. The last time we were working with a tutorial for the super full moon in Aries that brought all of us into the energy of the more authentic self with themes around opening your eyes and raising your awareness in regard to the opportunities that come from applying your personal energy in more responsible ways. And if you spent the last couple weeks working on letting go of any of that stuff that might have been standing in your way, the new moon in Libra is here with an opportunity to set intentions with an overall focus on partnerships, relationships, and collaborations of all kinds. We're going to use a similar format, and you can go back to the tutorial video for more explanations on how we're using the houses and the phases of the moon for this reading. Last time we used the Self-Study Tarot, and this time we're using a brand new deck of mine, Shadow and Light, Values and Archetypes, primarily as an example for how to use different types of cards in a similar spread, and for how different decks can bring a different energy to the reading. We're going to go back just real quickly to a close-up of the chart at the center of the spread. Just as a reminder, the card placements at the outside circle show each sign and their houses in their natural order. And the chart at the inner circle is reversed to represent where the moon is in each house right now. And if you want to try to recreate this spread or better understand it, I'll link the printable PDF download in the description so you can put this at the center of your own reading. We are just using a little dotted line here to represent the new moon, which is essentially invisible to us tonight. And it's kind of funny because it's often called the dark moon, but here it's the only one that looks light. Still, I think you probably get the idea. The new moon is always a great time for setting intentions, for finding new energy, for starting out on a new path, making plans, taking action, and making progress. Since the sun and the moon are both in Libra right now, we're soaking up some of that Libra energy with intentions set around the influence of partnerships and relationships, collaborations, commitments, mutual benefit, and finding balance. So we're working with a different energy than we were 2 weeks ago during the full moon in Aries. If you watched the tutorial, I did mention that there are several ways to lay out the cards and to read for the spread. And those are decisions that are based on your own preference and your own intuition. It is a new moon, so I'm laying the cards out in a clockwise motion, moving along with the growing energy of the moon. And we're getting close to Scorpio season, so we're going to read in the opposite order, going straight to Scorpio and all the way around to Virgo. And again, this really is just to give you more ideas for different ways to lay out and read the spread. In any case, this is the time for setting intentions, for working on creating new energy, and for a new path, making plans to take action throughout this growing phase. We'll start here with the archetype of the confidant for Libra and Libra rising, with the moon in the first house of self. And this is what this deck looks like on Deckible, with the message from the guidebook included as a second face for every card. And even though the confidant can sometimes represent the energy of gossip in your life, it can also very clearly represent an ally. And as always, intentions for this house are set on authentic expression and not hiding the real you, but sometimes it comes as a warning to protect your private life. For some reason, the feeling that I get from this card right now is to trust yourself. There's something here for me about releasing any pressure in your public life and maybe detaching from other people's expectations so that you can get busy doing what you need to do to be true to yourself. And very often I consider the confidant to be the keeper of the secrets, but again, there's a slightly different energy to it right now that says you really don't have anything to hide. Anyone who's prying around in your personal life probably doesn't belong there, and you're probably already sharing what you need to share with the people that you are really close to. So this is a good time to set intentions around getting out there and really being yourself without excuses or apologies. The people that are already there as part of your inner circle will appreciate this more confident side of you. And anybody who doesn't understand it probably doesn't need to. I think the bigger message here is a little contrary. To me, it feels like a time to be there for yourself and partner with yourself. And it might even come as a call to pay some attention to your appearance or even reinventing yourself if it really is a time for change. Either way, it's a time to commit to yourself and be mindful of the company that you're keeping and to set your intentions on spending the next couple weeks making time to work on what's most important to you. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, we've got the servant and the moon in the 12th house of release and retreat. And for me, this card has something to do with work that you've been doing behind the scenes. It feels like it very well may be work that you're doing to help someone else, and they may not even know that you've been doing it. And if that's the case, the only caution that I would add here is to make sure you're doing this because you want to. Is the work that you're doing caregiving or caretaking? And there is a difference in caregiving, providing support, and caretaking that more often includes something that's like enabling. And because we're here in Libra season, you just want to make sure that whatever you're doing is fostering healthy relationships. If this has something to do with partnering with yourself or committing to a project or a goal or a plan that you've been keeping to yourself, it might be time to start actually doing the work. And if taking care of other people has been standing in the way of your own progress, this might be a time to set some intentions on finding closure or taking action on finalizing any endings that would make room for new beginnings. Anytime Scorpio's in the mix, there's an opportunity for some transformation. And if you're still in the beginning stages of that metamorphosis, intentions set on getting to work on some of the less glamorous stuff that needs to be done will help you grow the emotions that lead to expansion and making progress that leads to realizing your goals. And I think some of this does have to do with what's yet to be seen. Maybe you've been playing some of your cards kind of close to your chest or playing small in the area of relationships, and it's time to get out of your head and start sharing your energy more freely. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, we've got the Archer with the moon in the 11th house focused on blessing, friendship, and humanitarianism. And I love it when the card actually lines up with the sign like this. I love the Archer for Sagittarius. And when we're looking at the reading as a whole and a reading for everyone, we're moving straight from that idea of taking action on areas of life that need closure and wrapping up some loose ends on some of the things that might need to come to an end. So there might be an empty space that could be filled with more of those healthy relationships in your life and making social connections that lead in a different direction. This is a card of direction, rekindling relationships with friends that really are supportive, or even just touching base with someone that you haven't seen or talked to for a while. Sometimes these two things go together. Those conversations can lead into the closure that you need to move on in a healthy way. And surrounding yourself with people who support you and your goals and the energy that helps you get where you want to go feels like the theme to me here. Sometimes the Archer really is focused on big picture plans and long-term goals. If you're focused on something that feels like service or a humanitarian effort of some kind, maybe there are some like-minded people that you can partner with on that project to get the energy moving more quickly. The only caution here is that in the shadow, this archetype can be impulsive, but generally speaking, as long as you're focused on what matters most, this is the part of you that knows what to do and how to do it. And I think we're back to setting intentions on surrounding yourself with the right people and growing more of that good feeling energy by getting out there and applying everything that you've been learning about your energetic responsibility. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, we've got the outcast with the moon in the 10th house sitting here in its natural position in the house of ambition. And this is a really interesting card at this point in the reading. I think it's a good time to consider any misplaced energy or any emotions that feel misunderstood. This is very obviously a great time to set intentions around career goals and definitely for setting all kinds of ambitious goals. And I think maybe this card is asking us to speak up and ask for an opportunity to shine, coming as a reminder that sometimes you have to reach out for an opportunity or ask for the help that you need. And if the people around you aren't helpful or if they're treating you badly in any way, I think it's probably high time to start looking for some different people. I really do believe that the price we pay for people pleasing is almost always too high. I believe everybody has something to offer, and very often your commitment to individuality and your unique perspective is exactly what's needed for you to succeed. You set your intentions on being you and what you've got to give, no matter what anybody else thinks. And because the 10th house isn't just about your career, you could ask yourself, what can I offer and where is the best place to share it? Where would it be appreciated? And I think that applies not just in the workplace, but in every area of life. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, we've got the hedonist with the moon in the 9th house and intentions set on purpose. And if you remember last time, we were talking about this for Leo, that combination of finding your purpose in what brings you pleasure. And I will say the hedonist is an often misunderstood card that, like every card, has a bright side and a darker side, especially in this deck. But in the light, it's a reminder to live life to the fullest and appreciate all the amazing things in the physical experience. And maybe this is a good time to start learning about something that you really are interested in. If there is already something that sparks your interest, you could start making plans to go do it and see where it leads. Sometimes the 9th house has to do with travel. Right now, with an overall focus on relationships, that could have something to do with long distance relationships or trips that you want to take. This archetype does always come with a word of caution to check your baser instincts and make sure that the path you're following is healthy. But I really think it's probably more about a bigger picture and a greater purpose that brings excitement into your life. So consider all the intentions that could be set around all the ways that it could have something to do with enjoying what you do and enjoying the time that you spend with the people that you've partnered with. For Pisces and Pisces rising, we've got the magnet in the 8th house of transformation. And it looks like we could be back to a message that has something to do with the subject of finances or some kind of financial success. For the full moon reading a couple weeks ago, we were talking about financial responsibility in this same position. And the magnet is generally a very positive card. I purposefully spelled magnet just like a magnet that attracts rather than magnate like the business mogul on purpose, because I do believe that it has to do with so much more than money. And especially here in the house of transformation, I would set some intentions about investing in your future and not just financially. And that could actually have something to do with putting too much emphasis on financial gain. I don't know if you can quite see it here in the video. Maybe you can see it over there, but the book he's holding says memories on the front. And I put that there because all the financial success in the world isn't as important as the wealth that we find in our closest relationships. You still want to use the money that comes in wisely, maybe paying off debts or investing wisely, but I really feel like this has more to do with what you value most. And again, going back to the last reading, what's most important? And what does success actually mean to you? And this really might have something to do with letting go of some of your expectations around money. But I think more likely it has to do with some kind of transformation in your beliefs about success in general. And if money is just a tool, and it really is, and if success really is subjective, and it is, then depending on what you want, you get to define it. And with this card and the new moon in the 8th house of transformation, this is a really good time to focus on what success really means to you and how that shift in perspective could impact your life and influence the goals that you're setting right now. So maybe write about that for a little while and then set your intentions on fostering some of those feelings of achievement and success by appreciating what you have right now and creating more opportunities for experiences and relationships and partnerships that feel like a win. For Aries and Aries rising, we've got the persona. And in the creation of the deck, I was really focused on the idea of the persona in all of the different masks that we wear and all the ways that we hide ourselves as we play out all the different roles in the divine drama that we're calling life. And it has a lot to do with self-image, which is very much Aries energy. And with the moon in the 7th house of partners, I think this is another really strong call to be yourself. It's also another interesting correlation that we can make from the full moon spread that we did a couple weeks ago with the moon in Aries. We had the 8 of Swords and the Open Your Eyes card in this position last time. And there's just something about it that's talking to me here about that a little bit. It kind of goes back to the idea of self-limiting beliefs. And in this case, all the limitations that you put on yourself, and especially in relationship to people pleasing and trying to be what other people want you to be. And for me, this card really is asking you to set your intentions on spending more time in the environments where you feel like the real you, and more of your energy on the relationships where you feel unafraid to be the real you, and working with people that support you being the real you, and definitely partnering with yourself on any venture that expresses who you really are. And this can be done in the midst of compromise. You can be yourself and express your point of view without excessive dominance and without any pretending. It's a reminder that you can talk about difficult subjects and find common ground and see things from another person's point of view without losing your own. For Taurus and Taurus rising, we've got the Anima Animus card with the moon in the 6th house relating to health. And I really do think this might have something to do with creating more balance in your daily routine, making a fresh start with healthy habits, setting intentions around work-life balance and home life balance. I love this card for balance. It's got the masculine and the feminine energy, and no matter where we find it, no matter what house, it always applies. In this case, it might include leaving outdated roles behind. Very often, this card relates to balancing that male and female energy, and that might just be within yourself. Maybe there are places where you need to assert more masculine energy or more feminine energy, and you really are the only one who knows where that might be. It could also have something to do with finding balance in relationships with family members or romantic partners, and setting boundaries in relationships, especially the ones that suck up the time that you have already set aside for self-care, because that does happen. And so the intentions to set here are pretty clear with what we've got right in front of us. It's to find a healthy balance in this house of health and wellness and lifestyle and routines. For Gemini and Gemini rising, we've got the Rebel. This is the freedom card, and with the moon in the 5th house of pleasure, I think this puts a real emphasis on free thinking. quite possibly as it relates to creative projects and enjoying the creative process and having the kind of fun that encourages feelings of independence. But with this moon's focus on relationships, it could have something to do with rethinking relationships or redefining relationships in creative ways, or looking for ways to really enjoy collaborations on creative projects. And just the feeling of it for me kind of takes me back to combining pleasure and purpose, or looking for ways to really enjoy collaborations on creative projects, or finding your purpose in the areas of life that bring you pleasure. And because Gemini is the house of thought and communication, this could very well relate to not just conversations that you have with other people, but the conversations that you have with yourself and the tone of your thought life. What kind of thoughts have you been thinking? And do the thoughts that you've been thinking take you to the places that you really want to go? For Cancer and Cancer rising, we've got the Father as an archetype that very often represents stability in relationship to family, and a source of stability, whether it was present or lacking while you were growing up. And Cancer is actually in its natural position right now. The moon is in the fourth house, and Cancer rules the fourth house. So this could definitely be a time to set intentions around healing some of those relationships from childhood that might need some mending. I always like to add here that you can do that kind of work, whether those family members are still living or not, but it also might have something to do with a reset in your current home life and domestic situations. It can even have something to do with the relationship that you have with your physical space. So it can be a good time to set some intentions around domestic situations, like maybe even just decluttering physical space and the impact that that has on your emotional space, nurturing your family life, starting projects at home that expand your energy and bring stability by making your life easier. And as you start setting up routines that help you make the most of the time that you spend at home, and enlisting the help and the positive energy and support of family members to create that environment for all of you, and certainly to support all the goals that you're setting right now. For Leo and Leo rising, we've got the Jester and the new moon and the third house of thought. This archetype is definitely quick-witted, quick thinking, and sometimes a little too quick to speak. So if your thoughts are moving quickly, this card could carry a word of caution to think about what you say before you say it. I feel like with this card in this house, with this moon, it probably has more to do with communication breakthroughs. So it could be a really important time to pay attention to the way you express yourself to others. In this deck, in the shadow, the Jester can represent the trickster, and that would point to making sure that you've got pure motives here. But it can also represent the Fool, and in a really lighthearted, very positive way, with a positive outlook right now when it comes to relationships. Leo is the house of pleasure, so if you've been really focused on doing just what pleases you, it might be helpful to put your focus on what pleases other people too. We are looking for mutual benefit and balance here in this phase, so there's a focus on the give and take in the relationships that are most important to you. I will say, if you've got new ideas or plans for the future that do include other people, this is a great time to sit down and think about what you really want and how what you really want will affect the people that you care about, and write out the intentions that affirm the most positive plans for taking meaningful action. For Virgo and Virgo rising, we've got the Peacemaker with the moon in the second house, representing what you value most. And even though it does often relate to money and opportunities to set intentions around budgets and financial goals, with this card in this position, I think it really might have more to do with cleaning things up in that area of your life. maybe paying off debt, if that's something that you've got, hanging over your head right now. But even more, I'm feeling intentions set around making peace with the people in your life that you value most, especially if there are any conflicts around other people that have to do with money or finances. Abundance comes in so many different ways, and any intentions that you set around taking action for the future or decisions that you make right now affirm abundance that comes from making some of those hard decisions. So that points to no more procrastinating on money issues and addressing any issues that are surrounding financial resources and finding a healthy relationship with money and making peace with any fears that you've got around finances. And I say this all the time, but the second house really isn't just about money. It's about what you find most valuable. And this deck is focused on assessing your values. And some of those things might be physical possessions, but in the end, the peacemaker is always about making peace with the people that are important to you and making peace with yourself. And at least in my opinion, there isn't anything that's more valuable than that. So now I've got this set up so that we can step back and take a look at the spread from a broader point of view. We've got a natural correlation here down at the bottom right with the father for Cancer, and Cancer and Capricorn are the only two signs in their natural positions. So this card in this house of home and family definitely stands out to me. At the bottom left, we've got a previous correlation between the Eight of Swords and the persona, both for me serving as reminders to remove the masks and to set intentions on seeing and expressing yourself authentically. We've got some recurring themes throughout the reading, and even going back to the last reading with purpose and pleasure relating to the hedonist and the magnet here, and evaluating your own values and your own definition of true success. Up at the top right, we have the Archer archetype, very closely matching Sagittarius energy here. Sometimes the cards really do show up as signs, and this correlation puts a strong focus on setting your direction. Finally, we've got the first and last cards, and if the confidant and the house of self are asking the questions about who to trust and who to partner with, I think the overall theme and the answer that comes with the peacemaker is that you already know. And if there are people that you need to make peace with because they really are valuable and trustworthy, set your intentions to go out and do that. And that just comes with the reminder that very often the intention is to trust yourself and to be yourself and to make peace with yourself and partner with yourself to make progress on any goals that you're setting in this new moon phase. And if we look back at this as a reading for all houses and all signs, and we know that we all have some work to do in every area of life and intentions to set for making progress over the next couple weeks, you can go back and break this down and spend some time writing. And writing is my favorite way to set intentions. Write down what you want, write it down a few different ways until it sounds true to you. Maybe write it a whole bunch of times until you've really got it set in your head. Say it to yourself. Repeat it to yourself and spend the next couple weeks getting to work on making something good happen. And I'll put the links for the PDF download, the deck, and the full tutorial in the description if you're interested in a little more information and another example for the houses spread.